money will leave somewhat of a legacy. Let's face it, money is spent so fast that if all you leave is money, it might be gone in a year after you're dead.
That's right.
But if you spent time investing in people and in ministries and in churches and in your community for the kingdom, for the Lord, that's not going to be gone a year after you're dead.
That's right.
That's going to last for generations.
That's right. Welcome to the Faith Unfiltered podcast, the Bible made practical. I'm Zach.
Robert.
I'm Drew.
And today we're going to talk about legacy, but first, kind of leaving a legacy. Like, what does it mean to leave a legacy behind? But first, I figured, what a great icebreaker would be talking about our greatest fears. Robert, do you have any fears?
Yeah. I fear being late to scheduled meetings.
Oh, good.
He also fears hugs and any
No,
sort
I love
of
hugs.
You don't
do
love
you?
hugs.
No,
You do not
I
love
don't
hugs.
fear them.
Yeah. Today we're talking about leaving a legacy. We're also talking about leaving on time. All right, so that's the two things we're talking about today.
Leaving on time. How about arriving on time?
Okay, good.
Yes.
If you leave on time, you would be arriving late.
Zach was a few
Yeah,
minutes
if you
late this
leave
morning,
on
but it's
time,
okay.
then
We
you're not
all
gonna
love
arrive
each other.
on time.
We all love each other, and we're ready to have a good time today.
Did you have a fear?
A fear or an irrational fear? Things I hate.
Irrational fear.
Okay.
Irrational or rational?
Hold on. My ears aren't
Rational.
working.
I think all my fears are rational.
Irrational?
In the
Even
moment.
the irrational ones.
Yeah. Like
Can somebody tell me
wiping
the
someone's
question I'm
face.
answering? What is it?
What
What's
are
a
real
fear
fears?
that you have that
What are
most
fears?
other people would go, why are you scared of that?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I hate like when we're wrestling on the floor with my kids and kids throw pillows and blankets on my head. It freaks me out. I get very claustrophobic and I start really getting crazy.
Just keep
I'm
some
like,
pillows
wow,
and blankets in the office.
Yeah, we should.
I'm going to
I have a
suffocate
blanket.
within the next few
I'll get a
seconds.
pillow.
Yeah, like there's a real, I guess, claustrophobic is like a real fear, but like when we're wrestling with my 3 and 6-year-old, it seems like I'm going to die.
Man,
Yeah.
do you only have Afghans in your house? Like the ones that have like the holes in them? Like those are the only blankets you're allowed
Listen,
to have?
if we
Crochet
wrestle,
only.
if we wrestle, it's got to have holes in it. All right. Yeah. So nothing fleece. Nope. Where were you guys?
I don't know if I can top that.
I think you win.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fleece
you're
blankets, that's
afraid
your
of
fear.
your 3-year-old
Yeah.
suffocating you. So
Yep.
I don't like sharks,
She's quite good.
which makes sense for living in Missouri. I hate them.
do you ever like afraid of a shark in a body of water that
Oh,
you
yes.
know there's not sharks in?
100%.
So if I took you swimming at the lake, you'd
Yeah.
be afraid of sharks?
Lake, river, pond, pool. It doesn't matter. Like
in your mind, there's a shark in the water.
What's
yeah.
your view on Shark Tank, the show?
I love Mark Cuban.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Hot take. I think Mark Cuban's great on that show.
Yes.
All
right.
I don't
He
like Mr.
clarified
Wonderful.
on that show.
Yeah. Do you like his decision to trade Luka Doncic?
It wasn't his decision.
Well,
that was
his-
Nico
yeah.
Harris. That was not a good decision. That was not good.
Not good.
Anyway, sharks, snakes, frogs, nature, all of those.
Florida.
That's pretty much what Florida is. So there's a fear of Florida, the state, and I don't know why anyone would want to live there.
Hey, tell them what happens when you go disc golfing with your wife and you throw your disc in the woods.
Yep, she goes and gets it for me
Good.
Why?
because there's snakes and frogs and nature.
He already said that.
over there. Yeah, and I know there's not sharks there because we're on dry ground, but
But there could be.
you never know. If there's a creek running through, I guess I'll just get a new one.
I think maybe you just topped him.
What? Yeah. I mean, we had a pool growing up, and we would do like night swims and turn off the light, and I always feared like a shark coming up in. I know it's not true. I know it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So on the scale of irrationality, it's probably more likely that he would actually suffocate from something on his face than you being eaten by a shark in a swimming pool.
100%.
good.
There has been one shark attack in Missouri, though. I just want you to know
In a
that.
swimming pool?
No, it was like in the Mississippi.
Really?
Yeah.
Bull
Bull
shark?
Yeah, bull shark.
Yes.
Yep, that's right. They can
What's
swim
the-
up the canal.
Really? That's crazy.
That's right. Sharks.
Did you share yours?
Do you have a fear? You strike fear in people, but what's a fear that you have?
Something I'm like just scared of.
Yeah. Do you have anything that you're afraid of?
You can't. You have to say something tangible too. Don't say like failure or disappointment.
We're gonna get into those.
Okay, good.
Like our real fears.
Heights? You don't like heights?
I don't like heights, but I'll do it if I have to. Like I put our dish thing on top of my house.
And you have a tall roof.
3 stories from the bottom up.
Yeah. Just
Like, I don't
When
like
you said
it, but I
that?
will do
Yeah.
it.
When you said that, this is how short I am. I thought you meant putting a dish on the top shelf of like the cabinet. But you mean
he's
like
not afraid
a
of that.
satellite dish?
That just requires you to get on a chair.
Yeah. See, well, yeah. For me, it's a little bit of a step ladder.
Or if I was at your house, I could do like Walker, and I could just pick you up. And
Oh, that's nice, and gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
I really don't know if off the top of my head something that I'm just scared of.
You're so strong.
I don't know about that. I might just be too dumb to be scared. Like,
All right,
Well,
that makes sense.
yeah, I guess. Okay. So,
maybe I'm just not smart enough to be scared of things I should be scared of, like sharks in swimming pools.
I think we should be afraid of sharks and snakes.
swimming pools.
Yeah, and definitely in swimming pools. And both those in a swimming pool would be catastrophic for me. Gosh.
All
okay.
right. So the legacy that you guys are leaving for your children is terror.
Fear. Yeah. Terror and fear.
Good. Good.
Okay, well, Drew, what's a real fear then? Like, what's a fear that you have?
A real fear that I have.
That's not like
I think he was.
Is this supposed to be
pretty real
funny
about the
or
last
yeah?
one.
Like
No, this is
I
like
think that was real.
like this isn't like a funny one. This is like a chance to be unfiltered. And
Okay.
vulnerable.
He's like,
here.
no, it
Vulnerable?
wasn't funny. I
Yeah.
freak out when that
Okay.
happens.
the biggest fear I have is that my kids wouldn't know Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
See, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, so we all got the same answer.
yeah,
Perfect.
like
I definitely have that. I have a fear of not wanting to let people down. Like that's one of mine. And then fear of being forgotten is another one of mine.
Yeah.
So those two fears.
letting people down.
What
We
was
can
the
show up on time next
theologian
week.
that said, "Live, die, and be forgotten"?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'll think of it before we're done.
Yeah.
Is that live free or die trying?
No.
Is that a Bond movie?
It sounds like Die Hard. Sounds like Die Hard there. So, what about you, Robert? What's a fear that's like real?
Failure.
Failure. Yeah. Fear of failure.
No, not in failure. Like to be successful, you have to fail. So,
Yep.
not just failure. Like, oh, I tried that and it didn't work, but like just in general, like
Just being a failure.
that what you're trying to live up to doesn't end up amounting to what you thought it would amount to. Like
good.
general failure, like trying something new and it not work doesn't really
Yeah.
bother
Yeah.
me very much at all. But imagine if the summation of what you've done with your life,
Yeah.
if that was considered a failure, that would be the thing that I'd say was failure. It would be fear.
Yeah.
What were you, Zach? Did you share already?
I did.
What'd you share?
I said fear of
Being
letting people down.
forgotten. and
That's,
letting
and
it
then-
be.
that's right.
Wow. And so
Yeah.
you've already made one of his fears come
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Thanks,
just for
Drew.
being forgotten.
Fear of being
Just
forgotten.
Totally forgot about your
Sweet.
answer.
Well, that's great. Well, now I'm fearful
Don't
of Drew.
worry.
I guess. Although I'll just have a blanket in my office and I won't have to be afraid of Drew anymore.
Good.
So leaving a legacy,
Yeah.
looking at one specific passage of scripture to kind of kick us off from a sermon a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's 2 Peter chapter 1 and verse 14. Peter says, knowing that the laying aside of my earthly dwelling is imminent, as also our Lord Jesus Christ has made clear to me, which I think is a reference, one, back to John, the Gospel of John, where Jesus walks on the shore with him and Peter, do you love me? I love you. Feed my sheep. Peter, do you love me? I love you. Tend my lambs. Peter, do you love me? I love you. Tend my sheep. And Peter says, you know all things. You know that I love you. And then Jesus tells him, when you were younger, you went where you wanted, you girded yourself, you made your own decisions. When you're older, someone else will lead you, someone else will gird you, and you will make your own decisions. And at the end of that, he says, Jesus told him all these things so you might know the kind of death that he would die. Follow me. And so Jesus has already kind of warned him before his ascension that his life will end in death for the cause of Christ. So he's prepared for that. But I think there's also a sense in which Peter is now, the Lord's making it, giving a heightened sense of awareness that we're getting closer to that.
Yeah.
We're getting closer to that moment where my life could be over. And so he's writing to these people in 2 Peter, and he lets them know that, like, I know that the laying aside of my earthly dwelling, this body that I live in, it's imminent. It's very close. It's closer than it's ever been. And so then in verse 15, he says, and I will also be diligent that at any time after my departure, you will be able to call these things to mind.
It's good.
And it's interesting because Peter's really concerned about what life looks like for them after he's gone. He's not just concerned with getting to live for Jesus in that moment. He's not just concerned with the message he's preaching for that day, but he wants to leave them with something that would be so impressionable upon their minds and their hearts that when he's gone, they'll remember it. It will cause them to reflect back on Christ and to live more faithfully for him. And so I would say that's like the definition of leaving a legacy, is you're leaving something that causes people to reflect back on Christ. It continues the ministry of the gospel.
That's good.
That's a legacy, not a big bank account that your kids can just spend for whatever reason.
Right. I think a lot of times when we
that.
think about legacy, we think about the tangible, leaving behind financial wealth or even a home or leaving behind cars or property or anything like that. And although that is helpful to the next generation, the most important thing is that they would understand and know Jesus, and that their kids would understand and know Jesus, and that the biblical truth would be passed on from generation to generation to generation. I had a pastor friend of mine would always say that it only takes one generation for your family to not know Jesus, and so that's a burden for me. I would love for my kids to know Jesus and their kids to know Jesus. Liz makes fun of me because I have like a big hope and dream one day of like sitting around a Thanksgiving table and like having just a bunch of kids and their kids around the table and chaos everywhere, but yet filled with Christians and people who love Jesus. And it's just that legacy is something that I think about often.
Yeah. I mean, leaving, there's nothing wrong with leaving a financial legacy in some senses. When I was a kid, my grandfather had, I guess, put an account in my name and put some money in it, and he died. And
well, that's nice of him.
Yeah. And my parents at the time came to me like, hey, you got this account and it's been left in your name and it's got money in it. And I'm like, man, that's awesome.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's like $30.
Yeah. Sweet.
It's a really big legacy.
Hey, he thought of you, though.
I don't even think I got the money.
That makes sense.
Would hardly get you Chipotle lunch nowadays.
Yeah. So, I mean, legacy is kind of subjective,
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean,
How much did your grandpa hate you?
well, $30
he left
worth.
him $30 worth.
Yeah.
But
nice.
he just never saw it.
It's like 1990, man. Inflation. You know how much that $30 be worth today?
35.
A lot.
Maybe like 100.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
if it was invested right.
What was
Yeah.
your feeling when you got to see that account?
He didn't get to see it.
I didn't get the money.
That's the thing.
You didn't get the money at all.
No.
No, he didn't get the money. He didn't get
come
to see
me.
it.
It was taken.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
He didn't get it.
So I think legacy is one of those things where if the legacy you're trying to leave is not for Christ, then there's no guarantee that it's going to be used for anything meaningful.
That's so good.
And so I think when you think about a legacy, is it good to leave behind, financial gains for your children? Yes, I know that's a wonderful thing to do. Is it good to, leave behind a business that was built and is well run and maybe will still be around 150 years after you? Yes,
Right.
I think that's wonderful. But I think in the grander scheme of things, the legacy that really matters is the legacy that continues to advance the gospel after you're gone.
Yep.
And that's the kind of legacy that's just not measurable. And some people do that, leave that kind of legacy by leaving a lump sum of money in their will to a church so that gospel ministry can continue, which I think is a wonderful thing to do. I think,
right.
matter of fact,
If you'd like to do that at our church, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
We would love a lump sum to pay off this building. So
right.
if you got money burning a hole in your pocket and you're leaving this earth soon, we'd love to have it.
Can't take it with you.
No.
Yeah.
But you can leave
Matthew
it behind.
6 told us that.
That's right.
I think there's some good stewardship when it
Yeah.
comes to not just thinking about using my resources while I'm alive for the kingdom, but for how are my resources after I'm gone to be used for the kingdom. And so even thinking about that step of it, like I would love if when I leave this earth, there's a legacy left through my resources to the kingdom.
Yeah.
But I sure hope that's not the only legacy that's left in my life.
And when you say resource like that, you mean like a financial
Yeah,
resource.
or ministry or whatever, whatever it might be, whatever that might
Right.
look like. Maybe you start your own 501(c)(3) and it's you leave a company to,
Yeah.
but it's got to be a kingdom company. It's got to be more than just, I left a lake house.
Right. Well, I think that kingdom language is very helpful because if we're not careful, we can start to build, and all of our resources and put all of our effort and energy to this kingdom, which will certainly not last, whether that's the kingdom you're building in your own life or the kingdom of this world. And so I think what ties you to that generational change is tying your efforts and energy and everything and resources towards God's kingdom. And so that can be very practical for people. They spend all their time and all their energy towards their career, towards stepping, one rung up the ladder over and over again, and yet people have been left behind. They haven't really grasped that, hey, for me to instill Jesus for the next generation, I've got to invest in people and not just things. So, yeah.
And I think it's biblical.
Absolutely.
And not even just in the sense of, I know, Zach, you got some verses you're going to share in a second that are kind of more explicit. But even when you just think about like the Old Testament, when the Israelites get across the Red Sea, the very first thing the Lord tells them to do is take 12 stones and stack them up.
Remember.
Yeah.
So that they can remember. It's a legacy. He says, so that when your children walk by, you can tell them the story of what God has done.
Yes.
And so for them, it was like that next generation of people learning about who God is.
Right.
And so that was the legacy that was going to be left. And you have these markers through the Old Testament where God is very intentional in reminding his people to make it about more than what is just happening in that moment. And I think where we kind of go sideways sometimes is you can't wait till the end of your life to do that.
That's right.
That's right.
Like, you have to be thinking now about what you're doing with your life that's going to matter for more than just the years of your life here on earth.
Yeah.
If you wait till you're 80, then it's too late.
The legacy that you leave behind starts now.
Yes.
Does not start when you are old in age or your body is failing. Your kids are watching you, your spouse is watching you, your friends, your coworkers, and that's the legacy that they will remember.
Yeah.
And I think in that culture too, like it was a very much an oral culture. So like they're telling stories often.
It's good.
As well. Like I think that's really a big difference from our culture today. Because you know what we do for story time? We sit in front of TVs and watch TVs instead of rehashing. Hey, let me tell you what the Lord has done in my life or has done in my life. And I think there's some big differences from their culture, our culture, obviously. But I think those are some of the big ones. Is we've outsourced discipleship, or we've outsourced some of those things that would leave a good legacy, but we've outsourced them out, which is very much what they did there. And some of this is like, so we've kind of been talking about 2 Kings in our life group. This is kind of fresh on my mind because we had an article that we kind of shared between us, and they talked about King Hezekiah, right?
Nice life group plug. I like it.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
You should be in a life group. If you're not, you should be in a life group.
That's right.
But King Hezekiah, he was this awesome king, and great king. And then after him was the worst king.
Yes.
And then his grandson was also a terrible king. And so what do you think? This is just a good question maybe for both of you guys just to think about is where did Hezekiah then go wrong? Great king, and then two sons, or son and then a grandson who were way off. One was known as the worst king, right? Manasseh. Yeah.
I don't think you get to pick who your legacy impacts.
It's good.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like for him, his legacy is impacting us.
It's true.
Right now. Like just even in the discussion of his life and the way he lived it. And when you study him and you get good biblical principles, and a guy who tore down the Asherah poles and kicked out the places of worship to Baal and did all these things to eliminate pagan worship from his culture so that he could restore rightly the worship of Yahweh. And, where there's some parenting things that went wrong in his life, maybe. We're not really told. Did he make, did he spend more time on the kingdom than he spent with his home? Maybe, but we're not really told.
Yeah.
And so I think some of it is you may be the most godly person ever, and you can't force your children to walk in that legacy. But I think the Lord honors it regardless.
Yeah.
So that when you leave a legacy for the kingdom, our hope. You just said it yourself. You have this vision of sitting around a Thanksgiving table with a family full of people who love Jesus.
That's right. I talk about it often.
But you also know at the end of the day that ultimately that means that they have to have made a decision to trust Jesus at some point, and you can't make that decision for them.
That's right.
No matter what kind of legacy you leave.
Yep.
And so I think it keeps us humble in the sense of knowing that the legacy we're leaving is to point people to the kingdom of Jesus, but it doesn't promise anything.
It's true.
Like there's no guarantee. But if you trust God with it, to say, well, God, I really wanted it to be my son that legacy would reach, and God goes, yeah, but this kid over here is who it reached.
Yep.
And you just got to trust God with that.
I think a lot of times when we think about legacy, we just limit the conversation to our children. And the reality is people have left a legacy on my life.
That's right.
That they are not related to me, but yet I'm greatly impacted and been influenced by the way I parent, by the way I lead, by the way I read my Bible, because people kind of poured into me what they knew, and they stood on the shoulders of people behind them, what they knew. So that discipleship even impacts generations. And so, when it comes to living a life today that's worthy, for the gospel, and then you just have to trust that sometimes things that you do today you may not be able to see.
That's right.
But it may, that Tom Hufty, pastor at First Baptist Maryville, who I respect a lot, he says this all the time from the stage and people that he lives. He said, we want to touch a day that we'll never see.
That's right.
He says that a ton. Have you heard him say that as well? He's been a mentor in your life too, where it's just touch a day that you'll never see. And that's kind of like dangling the vision out there for people of like, hey, you may never see God at work by the things that you do, but he is working.
Yeah.
And there's a generational aspect to the things that we do that really helps us.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we all would agree that leaving a legacy is vital. It's very important to do. It's not always resourced by financial means, by any means. But how do we do this then? How do we leave a legacy? What does it look like to leave a legacy? Like, what ways are you guys leaving legacies right now?
I think the greatest legacy you'll ever leave is the people that you invest in that outlive you. So no matter who that is, so if there's someone that you invest your life into and pour into them as a disciple, and you grow them and you pray for them and you mentor them and you watch them grow in their faith, and especially, that Titus chapter 2 kind of mentality of you older women take the younger men, older men take the younger men. And what's happening is the older people are investing into the younger people, and those younger people are going to outlive those older people. And so their legacy is those people.
That's right.
That's right.
Paul in Romans refers to the Gentiles as his crown.
That's right.
Like that they're coming to faith. That's his legacy. When people say, what's the legacy of Paul? The legacy of Paul is the salvation of Gentiles that are going to live when he's dead.
That's right.
So when they kill him, there's Gentiles that have come to the Lord because of him, and they get to carry the mantle of the gospel after him.
That's right.
So I think that the number one legacy you can leave is the gospel influence that you put on the life of another soul.
It's good.
Yeah.
Just to list one way, I'll get extremely practical here, is Liz and I, when we got married, we saw that there was a shift in culture that people wanted to wait to have kids so that they could build their career or kind of live out their dreams or travel the world, whatever that may be. And while I'm not knocking that completely, I am saying that Liz and I had a conversation. We're like, man, we want to have kids early.
Yeah.
So that we can start to have these legacy conversations and start building our family now. Yeah. And so that was very practical in our life. And so, although I just said that legacy, think of kids, I mean, in our life, we are having conversations with our kids, and even people who aren't parents yet hang out with us, and we try to really, show them what it means to be a godly parent to these people, and hopefully that's kind of, rubbing off on them.
I would agree. I think that if you're a parent, your most important legacy is your children.
Yeah.
Like you just can't
Yep.
There's no one you're going to spend more time with, pray for more, share the gospel with more, train more, mentor more than your own children.
Yeah.
Even as pastors.
Right.
Absolutely.
It starts there.
Yeah. It's a very tangible, practical, our DNA is in these kids, right? So your legacy lives on with them. And so that can go really poorly. We've seen broken relationships and broken family where there's poor legacies that's, kind of continued on in generations. And then there's good stories of good fathers and good mothers who love their kids.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I think, for Brittany and I, we had kids young as well because of those reasons, Drew.
Yeah.
We were excited to have kids, number one. But we wanted to start pouring into them earlier, and, God willing, we'll be here to see grandkids and maybe even great grandkids, who knows? But being able to invest in them and pour into them is, huge. So
yeah.
We're excited for that.
Yep. That's good.
Believe in a legacy. It can sound maybe daunting a little bit. We're talking about your whole entire life and then leaving that behind for someone else. So what are maybe some things that people underestimate about leaving a legacy?
The amount of time that it takes.
It's a big investment.
I think most people underappreciate how much time and investment it takes to have a kingdom impact.
Yeah.
And not even the sense of you have to give up your whole life.
Right.
But you have to give up something. Give up 5% of your life. Give something up to it.
It's going to cost you.
It is. Mm-hmm. And if you're willing, it's like compounding interest though. If you're willing to say, okay, I'm going to set this amount of time my week away to serving the Lord.
Yeah.
That's really the legacy. It's serving the Lord faithfully today will lead to you having a legacy to leave when you die.
That's good.
And so, but that's going to require time.
Yeah.
Money will leave somewhat of a legacy. Mm-hmm. But let's face it, money is spent so fast that if all you leave is money, it might be gone in a year after you're dead.
That's right.
But if you spent time investing in people and in ministries and in churches and in your community for the kingdom, for the Lord, that's not going to be gone a year after you're dead.
That's right.
That's going to last for generations.
That's right.
And so I think time. If you want to leave a legacy, then you have to be willing to sacrifice your time, your talents, and your resources for the Lord, so that those things over time compound into something that outlives you.
That's right. And that's people, right?
Yeah, people. That's right. The people are the goal.
That's right.
It's not leaving a big church or a big ministry or a big program or big buildings or whatever. It's leaving people. All those things are needed because the more people you have, the bigger buildings you need and all that kind of stuff. But people are the goal. That's the investment. So
That's good.
Anyways, last thing today, just last comments.
Last comments, final thoughts. Here we go. Stop me if you've heard this before. Kids these days.
Stop.
Right? Oh gosh. Okay. Oh wow, you really took it to the heart.
I just wanted to say stop.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Stop. In the name of love. All right. Well, a lot of people say, kids these days are so different, and there's they complain about the next generation. Well, if you have that kind of mindset, then I don't think you're living out what it means to leave a good legacy.
Yeah.
Because you're frustrated with the next generation instead of helping them.
That's right.
So that's the thing about kids. They're crazy. And so you have to meet them where they're at and help them grow.
Right.
So if we just stay frustrated and upset by the clothes they wear, the music they listen to, or the things they say, or the weird slang that comes out of their mouth, then we're not actually going to invest in them. So, there's churches that will complain that their children's ministry is where's the kids at? And yet no one's helping. And, at our church at Freshwater, I want everybody to be helping out with the next generation in some way, just because it's man, God's given us a ton of kids, and it would just be a miss if we don't pour into them as much as we can.
Yeah. The people who think that way care more about themselves than anything else, and when they die, it will die with them.
Yes.
That's right. My closing thought is real simple. Kids, men, youth men, young adult, which we just talked about, are vital.
Did I steal yours? I'm so
no,
sorry.
They're vital. I think
okay.
I'm just going to piggyback off you.
Good.
It's vital to the next generation. If you don't invest in them, and if you're listening, if you don't invest in them, and you maybe are going to a different church, close the doors now, because it's over. Stop wasting your resources on choir robes or handbells, because they just depreciate in value over time, and you can't get a good investment for them. But what won't lose their value is investing and pouring into young men, young women right now, your kids, your grandkids. That's the legacy. That's, the people that you invest in. That's the legacy that you'll leave. And it'll be something that you won't see maybe in your lifetime, but that's okay. And you got to be okay with that. Like, we got to be okay with that.
Yeah. So if you're trying to leave a legacy and you're one of those people that, is looking at the culture we live in and the times that we live in, and you think, man, this thing's falling apart. Like, what in the world is going on? Well, start doing something today that makes it different for the next generation. That's leaving a legacy.
Right.
See you guys next week.